Welcome. This is the NPTEL course on process design decision and project economics. My name is Dr. V.S. Moholkar and I am a faculty of chemical engineering at IIT Guwahati. Let me first give you a brief introduction to the genesis of this course and the course syllabus. This course appears in the final year of BTech curriculum in most of the universities. Okay. This course is also about coupling the chemical engineering principles to the principles of economics, because the economic success of a chemical project is very important for the viability of the industry. Okay. And therefore, we have to always see the economics of any decision that we make for the design of a particular process. There are several NPTEL courses on heat exchanger, heat transfer, mass transfer, chemical reaction engineering, and there is also a course on equipment design, process equipment design. But this course is different from those because it gives a overall view of all of these principles from developing a process or from the viewpoint of a potential chemical project. Chemical projects play a special role in the sustainable development of the society. In our day-to-day life, we use chemicals in various forms such as pharmaceutical, textiles, soaps, detergent, cosmetics, fertilizer, fuel, metal and plastics. Without chemicals, life is very difficult to follow. Okay. A chemical plant can be identified as a facility for physico-chemical or biological transformation of raw material into value-added products with various resources such as manpower, energy, water, space and money. Various factors that influence the design of a chemical process for manufacture of a chemical product. So, chemical process or chemical plant is judicious combinations of various unit operations and unit processes. Like for example, in a petroleum refinery, crude oil is separated into various fractions such as LPG, naphtha, petrol, kerosene, diesel, soft wax, and a series of distillation columns are used for these separations, and you have studied distillation as a unit operation in mass transfer course. Conversion of naphtha into aromatics such as benzene, toluene, xylene, that is called as aromatization, is used as a process preceding extraction and distillation as unit operations for recovery of aromatics. The objectives and priorities in a process design are influenced by the market into which these are being sold. Chemical products are usually classified into three broad classes. First is a commodity or bulk chemical, second one is fine chemicals, and third one is a specialty or a functional chemical. Commodity chemicals are produced in large volumes and they are sold on the basis of composition and purity, which determines their price. And examples of these chemicals are sulfuric acid, nitric acid, nitrogen, oxygen, ethylene and chlorine and many other such chemicals. Fine chemicals are produced in smaller volumes relatively, but like commodity chemicals are sold on the basis of composition and purity, which determines their price. An example of chemicals in this category are chloropropylene oxide used for manufacture of epoxy resin, ion exchange resin, dimethyl formamide which is used as a solvent in reaction medium and intermediate in pharmaceutical manufacture, and butyric acid which is used in beverages, flavorings, fragrances, etc. And finally, the specialty or functional chemicals are manufactured for a particular or specific application, and it is the function of these chemicals that determines their price rather than the chemical composition. For example, perfumes, flavorings or pharmaceutical products, even simple chemicals such as various mosquito repellents that we use at home or domestic cleaners. Okay. So, all of these are chemicals. We rarely bother about their chemical composition, but we mainly assess their function as how effectively they clean or how effectively they repel mosquitoes in case of mosquito repellent, or even in simple pharmaceutical products such as various syrups that are available in the market. So, we rarely bother about their composition, but we see mainly the function. They repel mosquitoes in case of mosquito repellent, or even in simple pharmaceutical products such as various syrups that are available in the market. So, we rarely bother about their composition, but we see mainly the function. The specialty or functional chemicals are manufactured for a particular or specific application, and it is the function of these chemicals that determines their price rather than chemical composition. And examples are chemicals in this category are perfumes, flavorings, simple pharmaceutical products such as syrups that are available in the market, some tablets that are available market for simple diseases like headache or cold or cough, or it could also be the domestic cleaners that we use or the mosquito repellents that we use. Okay. So, we are not bothered about chemical compositions of these products, but we mainly see their function. Another distinction between the various chemical products is in the form of differentiated and undifferentiated product. The commodity and fine chemicals can be purchased on the basis of chemical composition alone, and they are classified as undifferentiated products. On the other hand, specialty chemicals are purchased on the basis of their effect or function, and hence they are classified as differentiated products. But the terms differentiated and undifferentiated should be thought as relative terms rather than absolute terms, because there are certain specialty chemicals like polymers which are manufactured in terms of their mechanical strength. Okay. They are classified as undifferentiated product. Okay. Although they are manufactured for a specific purpose or for a specific function. Okay. The scale of production also differs between the three classes of chemical products. The fine and specialty chemicals tend to be produced in volumes less than 1000 tons per year. On the other hand, commodity chemicals tend to be produced in much larger volume than this. Again, this distinction is also not so clear, like the polymer products which we are talking about. Okay, they are produced in quantities higher than 1000 tons per year, but they are still classified as the specialty chemicals. The chemical projects differ from other projects such as automobile, hydropower, highway, dam construction projects in that they transform one substance into totally different substance. Like example is natural gas, which is converted to methanol after steam reforming of methane. So, that is a distinct case of one phase chemical being converted to another phase chemical. When a new product is introduced in the market, the sales grow slowly until the market is established, and very rapidly once the market is established. If the product is protected by patent, then no other manufacturer will be able to produce the product till the patent expires. However, competitive products are introduced by other companies in the market, and they may reduce the sale of a particular product. The sale may become so low in some cases that the company may withdraw the product from the market. Now, different classes of products have different added value, which is the difference between the selling price of the product and purchase cost of raw material. The value addition of commodity chemicals is small, while that of specialty chemicals is high. However, the scale of production of commodity chemicals is much higher than that of specialty chemicals. And due to this, while designing a process for commodity chemical, it is desirable to keep the operating or production cost as low as possible. The capital cost of such process could be high due to large scale of production. On the other hand, while designing process for a specialty or functional chemical, priority is given to the product and not the process, because the functionality of the product has to be protected, and functionality of the products is what matters. In this case, the operating cost could be high, yet the capital cost is low due to small scale of production. The time required for actual marketing of the product, since its invention through basic research, is also important factor in overall feasibility of the project for functional chemicals. Thus, the priorities of process design are different for the two types of chemicals, commodity and specialty chemicals. In commodity chemical, there is little product innovation because product is already established in the market. It is a well-known a well-known product, but the greater focus is on process innovation. How we can make the process better, like reducing its energy consumption or using raw materials which are cheaper, or using less harsh conditions. So, the emphasis is on process innovation to make process better and cheaper and safer. However, in case of the specialty chemicals, it is the otherwise, that it is the product innovation matters more than process innovation. In some cases, there some certain stringent conditions or restrictions on the product composition have to be met, and therefore, you may have to adopt a process which is more energy intensive, which has more operating cost, but still to meet the certain specification of the project, you have to follow the process which is not optimized, okay? And that restricts the process innovation in case of specialty chemicals. For commodity chemicals, the process equipment is exclusively designed for a particular process step. Therefore, the life of an equipment is more or less same as that of the product or the life of process operation. However, in case of specialty product, you have certain flexibility. The manufacture of fine and specialty chemicals involves low scale production, and therefore short product life cycle and short time to market. Thus, the process development has less time, and essentially the product and process development have to go hand in hand. The manufacture of fine and specialty chemicals is often carried out in multi-purpose equipment, and different chemicals might be produced in different parts of the year. The life of equipment may exceed significantly, therefore, the life of the product, because the product of the company may keep on changing, but same equipment is used for that particular product. Then development of pharmaceutical product involves concurrent safety and clinical assessment studies, while process development, along with process development, pharmaceutical production represents an extreme case of process design in which the regulatory framework controlling the product makes it difficult to make process changes. As I just said, that certain, in case of specialty or functional chemicals, you have to meet certain specifications of the product. The product has to function to the expectation of the consumer, and therefore, to make the product, you may have to adopt a process which is not optimum, which is more energy intensive, which has more operating cost, but still you have to make the product through the same process, okay? And therefore, making process changes even during the development stage of the product is rather difficult. So, these are some basic guidelines of the chemical products and chemical processes. The chemical engineering design of new processes and the expansion and revision of existing processes requires use of engineering principles and theories combined with a practical understandings of the limit imposed by environmental, safety and health concerns. And this is where the chemical engineering design differs from the individual unit operations. Okay? Here, when you learned mass transfer, when you learned heat transfer, you did not consider these aspects, but in this course we are going to consider these aspects, and with constraints of these aspects we are going to see as how best we can arrive at a design of a chemical engineering project. Development of new processes from concept to evaluation to profitable reality can become complex, since the process design problems are open-ended problems. In many cases, you may not have information that you need. In that case, you have to either generate information or do some intelligent guesswork of that information with, of course, some iteration, and then arrive at a suitable design. Thus, there are many process designs and solutions which are profitable even if they are not optimal. So, the solution that you obtain may not be the unique solution. It may be profitable, but it is not optimal, and hence there is an improvement for the design. Now, let us see how a chemical engineering design problem is formulated. Okay? Before we start a process design, we must formulate the design problem, and this begins with the product specification. If a well defined and well established product is to be manufactured, then the product specification is straightforward. However, for a specialty product to be manufactured, the functional properties are more important than chemical properties, and hence we have to go for product design step prior to process design. Okay? The chemical project is design of a chemical project or chemical process is like a painting. Okay? How does a painter draw a painting? Initially on a canvas he decides what to draw in the first place. Then on a canvas he broadly marks the regions where he will draw different parts of the painting, and then he first makes a rough sketch with pencil, and then a little fair, and then he adds colors, and this is how a painting is developed. Okay? And painting is never finished. When does a painter stop drawing painting? When additional effort does not yield necessary returns, which means when you have drawn the painting to the fullest, now putting additional colors etc. is not going to make painting any better, significantly better, and that is the point where the painter stops, and that is the point where the painting is finished. So, process design is very much similar. So, we will start first with a broad idea and then keep on converging on various aspects and then finally making a design. But let me first give you some information about chemical projects. The chemical projects are broadly classified as either a grassroots project or an add-on project. The grassroots or greenfield project is a plant which is constructed from zero level and almost barren land, and here the project will start from activities such as land procurement. Add-on projects are different. They are built within an existing complex or built around the main project, and such projects could be addition of a new facility or a backward or forward integration, or altogether a new product line around an existing or expanded structure of utilities. Now, what is forward and backward integration? Forward integration is essentially a proposed project using products or byproducts of existing plant as raw material, and backward integration is the manufacture of the raw material of an existing project. Okay? If the project owner decides to manufacture the raw material for existing project, it is known as backward integration. The expansion of project capacity depends on market forces. Suppose the entrepreneur does not want to start a new product, but just to expand the existing facility keeping product same, then that decision is governed by the market forces. The market potential needs to be established for the proposed product by desk study, by consulting some experts. Okay? If the market for a particular project is predicted to grow, then the production should increase, but we should keep in mind that the time that is required to build additional facilities or to reach the enhanced production, in that period some competitors might enter the market in this period, and then the market share of the company may go down. Okay? And you need some intelligent guesswork or intelligent analysis for this from experts to decide the expansion of the plant. If your product is making lot of profit, then it attracts other manufacturers and they enter the business, they start production, more product comes into the market, demand remaining the same, the price falls. So, many companies deliberately try to sell their product at a lower price just to discourage the competition in the market. Okay? There are certain pre-project activities, like defining project in many cases in itself is a project. This task is addressed by the entrepreneurs and managers who are engaged in the corporate planning. The main questions to which these people have to find answer are: first, what to produce, that is identification of the product or a series of products. Now, these could be the same as I said, commodity chemicals, specialty chemical, etc. Okay. Then of course, this requires extensive foresight and market knowledge. We have to see not just today's market for the product, but the predicted market when your plant actually starts functioning. It takes typically 3 to 4 years to build a plant. So, we should always see the predicted market than the current market. One needs entrepreneurship as an individual or as an organization at corporate level. Then the question comes, how much to produce? This decides the size of the project. This is determined by the market share of the product, as I just said, and the economic plant capacity below which the price of the product is not attractive to consumers. Now, there is something called as the economy of scale. When you design a plant for certain scale of production, let us say 100 tons per day, and when you want to double the capacity, you consider a plant with twice or thrice or even 5 times the capacity, then the cost does not rise linearly. The cost rises with certain exponent which is less than 1. Okay, that we are going to see in this course in greater detail when we study project economics. And because of that, the the unit cost of production or unit cost of product falls as the scale of production increases. Okay. Therefore, the production capacity is governed by the economy of scale as well as the market analysis, and market analysis comes before. It is more primary than the economy of scale. Okay. This could be easy for an established product, but not so easy for a new product. So, if you are manufacturing an established product like sulfuric acid, nitric acid, any commodity chemical that is already in the market, then making this kind of analysis is rather easy than a completely new product. Then the question is how to produce, and this requires the selection of technology for the process. If the entrepreneur has his own technology, then the efforts on this issue are saved. However, if one has to use licensed technology, then we have to find answers to the two questions. First, is there any better technology available, and secondly, is there any new technology under development which could be available in near future. All new technologies have to meet the SHE compliance, the safety, health and environment SHE, then the energy conservation ENCON philosophy resulting in total quality management operation. And when the above questions are answered, the more important question about the project cost and financing will have to be addressed. The project cost and working capital decide the total capital outlay of the project, and then financing can come from various sources. Okay. It could be the entrepreneur's own money, it could be the debt borrowed from some financial institutions like HDFC, it could be partly debt, partly entrepreneur's money, and part money you borrow from people, public, in the form of shares. So, that is essentially the next question that we have to address. Now, let us see how a project grows, like the milestones of a project from concept to commissioning. A project goes through various steps or sequences before final implementation, before finally you start producing a product. And the significant stages or milestone in this journey of the project are, first, the project conception, that why the idea of project has come up. Okay. This could be conceived from business and market opportunities. It could be new material or technologies that are available, which are in demand, which could be consumer feedback. It could be opportunities made available from global politics. Okay. Or in some cases, it could be simply the statutory compulsions that conceive the project idea. Like tetraethyl lead was used as oxygenate in petrol, but because of pollution, the tetraethyl lead was banned, and then MTBE, methyl tertiary butyl ether, was used as oxygenate. But now even MTBE is banned in many countries because MTBE is found to be a very severe pollutant, and the currently used oxygenate is ethanol. Okay. So, this is how the project idea is conceived. Okay. So, somebody would like to start a new project on ethanol just to make it as an oxygenate for the petroleum industry. Okay. Then next is the market potential that needs to be established before you decide on the project. Then the technology search, which I just said, that you have to look for a new technology or what is the best technology in existing among the existing options. Okay. Adequate technical data has to be obtained to evaluate the profitability at primary level. The preliminary feasibility report needs to be prepared to aid the investment decision. Then the detailed technology search and evaluation. This task could be undertaken with help of a project engineering company. Then is the step of site selection. You have to search a proper site for the project. Okay, after careful evaluation of all the sites that are available, then comes the preparation of detailed techno-economical feasibility report, which is presented to the board of governors of the company. And once it is approved, then you have to go for statutory clearances or approvals that are needed for the project implementation from both central and state government. You have to do the hazard analysis, the hazard operability studies called HAZOP, and then the environmental impact assessment. This study needs to be undertaken with help of the techno-economic feasibility report, because all of these is going to affect the economics of the process. Then after this is completed, then you have to go for detailed engineering. Then a contract should be signed with the process licensor for supply of know-how. The contract should also be signed with the detailed engineering contractor. Next step is project financing. As I just said, that you can obtain finances through various sources, either through bank or entrepreneur's own money, own investment, or through equity and shares, or a combined of these three. Okay. And after you complete these 10 steps, okay, then the project construction starts, including the detailed engineering, procurement, installation of equipment, and once it is installed, then the project is commissioned. Okay. After completion of construction, first there is mechanical commissioning of the project, and that is followed by process commissioning. So, this is how is the journey of a chemical project. At each and every stage, you have to make sure that you have a profitable process. Okay. So, the techno-economic feasibility report is a major milestone, because that essentially gives you an idea of the profitability of the process. Now, let us see some aspects of the chemical process design. What we have seen so far is a chemical project as a whole, but when we are developing a process before it becomes a project, okay, what are the guidelines that we have to follow, or what are the basic steps that we have to see? The basic anatomy of a chemical process is as follows. How do you give a general picture of a chemical process? You have certain raw material which you store at particular location. Okay. Then you have to go for feed preparation. If your raw material does not meet the required specification, purity or particle size or concentration, so on and so forth, then you have to prepare the feed before it enters the reactor. So, after feed preparation, there is a reactor. The streams emerging from reactor contain mainly products, byproducts, waste products, and unreacted reactant. Okay. So, the stream emerging from reactor has to go to product separation unit. This removes the byproduct, the main product, and also the unreacted reactant, which is recycled back to the reactor. And then the main product further goes to purification unit, and after purification it goes to the storage, and finally it is sent to the market. Okay. So, this is a basic anatomy of any chemical engineering process, a very general design. Okay. Not all of these steps will be there in all chemical processes, okay. And then the complexity of each stage will depend on the nature of the process. The process design is essentially concerned with selection and arrangement of these stages, okay, and specification and design of the equipment that is required for each stage. Okay. So, that point I will note here, that chemical process design is about selection and arrangement of various stages in the process, and selection, specification and design of the equipment in that particular stage. Now, how does a chemical process design start, okay, or the hierarchy of chemical process design? I just mentioned to you that designing a chemical process is like drawing a painting, that you first map the canvas with certain areas where you will draw certain parts of your painting, and then keep on filling these with greater and greater detail. Every process transforms the feed into product. In the most cases, the feed may not react completely. Okay, the unreacted reactant needs to be separated from product for recycling. Moreover, the product itself needs to be purified, as I just showed in the anatomy diagram, and this gives the guidelines for separation system design. Depending on if you have the knowledge of the stream emerging from the reactor, that is the starting point for the separation system. The separation system consists of various operations like flashing or flash drums, distillation column, extraction unit, absorption, adsorption unit, etc. Now, many separation units required large energy input, like for example, distillation column. Okay, the reboiler of the distillation column has to be operated, and that is a unit which is highly energy intensive. Okay. Distillation column also requires a cold utility to operate its condenser. So, that energy, like distillation, is a highly utility intensive operation. It requires both cold and hot utility. Now, if all of these heating and cooling requirement are to be met by the hot and cold utility, for example, the steam and cooling water are the most frequently used hot and cold utilities. Okay, that creates a large burden on the utility and also the economics of the process. Okay, and that renders the process rather inefficient in terms of economics. Therefore, we have to carry out the energy integration. Energy integration is nothing but meeting the deficit of energy in one part of the process by surplus of energy in another part of the process. And this issue you have already seen in the NPTEL course of process equipment design. And therefore, energy integration reduces the load on utilities, making the process more economically favorable. The synthesis of heat exchanger network for the integration of the process, heat integration of the process requires knowledge of all the flow rates, composition, heat capacities and temperatures of the streams, and this in turn requires all the material energy balance and the design of reactor and separation system to be done a priori. So, when you undertake heat integration of a process, you have to know everything about the process. What are the components of separation system? What is the composition of the stream that is emerging from the reactor? Okay, and what are the overall material energy balance of the process. So, energy integration can be considered as the last step of the design, because it requires knowledge of all the previous steps. So, that is the last stage in the design. Now, changes in the reactor design could also be possible. Okay. Making reactor size large increases the residence time of the reaction mixture, or using another catalyst than the existing one, that changes the composition of the product stream that is emerging. Okay. And therefore, the extent of conversion achieved in the feed also changes. Not only the yield, but selectivity of the products of the changes. Okay. Now, this in turn increases the amount of product in the exit stream. Like if you make reactor large, the residence time of the reaction mixture increases. That makes the reaction to go to higher extent, and then the amount of product increases. But rarely you will have a single reaction going on in the reactor. Okay. There will always be several side reactions, and therefore, the quantities of byproducts of the process will also go up. And this in turn affects the design of the separation system, because the purification needs of the product have to be met. Okay, separation of byproducts has to be done, and therefore, you may need some additional separation units, or you may have to change the sequence of separation of the products, okay, when the reactor configuration changes. Now, with change in the separation system, the heat integration network also changes. So, with all of these variations in the design, with design and process parameters, you can generate a large number of flow sheets, okay, and each of these has scope for further improvement with heat integration. You have certain variables with permutation combination of variables, large number of flow sheets may be possible, and then you have to evaluate all these flow sheets to minimum extent. Like you cannot, let us say if you have 1000 possible flow sheets, okay, all of them may be profitable, but to greater or lesser extent, and then you have to screen these process alternatives, and then you have to arrive at certain set of best possible designs. It could be, let us say, 10 out of 1000, okay, but you cannot find out a single possible flow sheet, and the final flow sheet that you need may be a combination of all these 10 sheets. Okay. The complexity of the chemical process synthesis is threefold. First, to identify all the major equipment in the process by identifying the unit operation, then optimize each of these operation with optimal interconnection between them, and finally optimize the whole process. Okay. Now, you will often find that optimization of one set of equipment disturbs the optimum condition for the second equipment, and therefore, as I said, you have to optimize the process as a whole rather than optimizing one or two sections of the units. If a chemical process is to be designed from scratch, it is helpful to develop a methodology for this design. Okay. So, after choosing the exact reactions for synthesis of the product and raw material, that is the first stage, okay, the design starts from the main reactor of the process, and this is the place where the raw materials are converted into product. Once the type of reactor, the space velocity, temperature, pressure of the reaction is finalized, then we get the idea of the stream that is emerging from the reactor that contains the products and byproducts and the unreacted reactant, and with this it is easier to design the separation system and the recycle structure of the flow sheet. Recycle structure of the flow sheet is very important because recycle causes significant rise in the operating cost, especially if you have gaseous reactant recycle, then you require a compressor, and compressor is an equipment which is high in terms of both capital cost as well as operating cost. The reactor design, the separation system and recycle structure together define the heating and cooling duties of the process. Thus, the heat exchanger network comes next. Okay. And after heat integration of the process, those heating and after you do heat integration of the process, you may still require some heating and cooling duties, like some heating and cooling in the process cannot be still satisfied with heat integration, and then you use the utilities only for those heating and cooling duties. That will reduce the load on utilities significantly. There are various hot and cold utilities, for example, the furnace heating, steam at various pressure levels, steam generation, cooling water, air cooling, refrigeration. Okay. So, the utility selection follows the design of heat recovery system, and after design of all of the above, we get an idea of the various discharges that may occur from the process. Now, process may generate all three kinds of effluents, solid, liquid and gas, and these effluents need to be treated before they are discharged to the surroundings. Okay. For example, if the process is generating a purge stream containing polluting gases like SOx, NOx, sulfur oxide, nitrogen oxide, or if it has harmful organic vapors, we need to design a gas absorption or vapor recovery system before the purge. Similarly, if an aqueous effluent stream is being generated from the process, that needs to be treated for lowering the BOD and COD values before discharging into the water bodies like river and lake. Okay. So, the design of the effluent treatment plant comes the last. Okay. So, the hierarchy of chemical process design could be written as follows. First, you design the reactor, then comes the separation and recycle system, then comes the heat recovery system, then comes the heating and cooling utilities, selection of the heating and cooling utilities, then comes finally the effluent treatment system. Now, in this course, we are going to see all these aspects of chemical process design. Okay, and then we are going to couple that to the chemical project economics, because we have to develop a profitable process. It should also be a safe process, it should be also a energy efficient process, it should be environmentally friendly process. Okay. So, all of these things we are going to address in this course. Now, let me give you the syllabus for this course. We have essentially 8 modules in this course, and the contents of these modules is as follows. Course syllabus. The first module is about introduction to flowsheet development. Where we shall see some basic aspects of design of the flowsheet, essentially the same thing which we have seen today, but in greater detail. Then next comes the module of flowsheet synthesis. Okay. The subtopics that we are going to see here are input information for the process, like batch versus continuous, then output structure of the flowsheet, recycle structure of the flowsheet. Then we are going to also have tutorials on mass and energy balance of the process and the recycle structure of the flowsheet. Then will be the module of the design of reactors. Here we are going to see the design principles for catalytic and non-catalytic reactors of plug flow reactor, continuous stirred tank reactor, or CSTR, or batch type of reactor. And then we shall also have tutorial on design and costing of the reactor. So, some portion of this module you have already studied in the NPTEL course of chemical reaction engineering, but here we shall couple it to the economics, like we shall also see the costing of the reactor along with the design. Then comes the module of design of separation systems. We shall review the general separation systems for homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures. You have already had introduction to these systems in the NPTEL course of unit operation, mass transfer operations. Okay. So, this will be more or less revision. Thereafter, we shall see the design of distillation column, but from practical point of view. Okay. We shall see what are the easy steps for calculation of number of plates. The McAfee method you have seen in the course of mass transfer, but we shall see some simpler and quicker methods for multi-component mixtures. In addition to this, we shall see how we can calculate the height and diameter of the column. Then we shall see the sequence of the distillation columns when we have to separate multi-component mixtures. What are the principles governing deciding the sequence of columns, and finally we shall see the heat integration of the sequences, and then we shall also have the tutorials. Okay. Then comes the module of energy integration of the process. The fifth module will be energy integration of the process. Here we shall see the principles of energy integration. Again, this will be some repetition of whatever you have learnt in PED 3, process equipment design 3, the NPTEL course. Then like how composite curves are constructed, how energy targets are identified, the cost targets are identified, minimum hot and cold utility, then the problem table algorithm, and finally we shall see the pinch technology for design of heat exchanger networks, and we shall also have tutorials on all of these aspects. Later we shall have 2 case studies. Case study 1 will be that of economic decision making. We shall see the design of an gas absorber, okay, but from economics point of view. Like gas absorption is also a topic that you have studied in mass transfer operation, but now we shall see the economic aspects of this particular process and how economics governs the design of the gas absorber. Okay. So, this will be a case study 1, that is the 6th module. Then 7th module will be the cost diagram, which is another case study of hydrodealkylation process, HDA process, hydrodealkylation process. Here we shall see as how we can screen different process alternatives. As I just said that this chemical process synthesis is about generating process flow sheets. Okay, so you may generate a very large number of flow sheets and you may have certain process alternatives. So, how you can assess the economic implications of these alternatives, that issue will be addressed in this particular case study, the cost diagrams. We can see as how the cost information and process information can be represented in the same diagram, and how simple diagrams and simple calculations can help us assess various process alternatives or economic implications of various process alternatives. So, after these two case studies, the final module will be that of chemical project economics, and here we shall see various aspects of economics, project economics. Now, these principles that we are going to learn in this apply equally to other projects as well. So, it is not chemical project economics, but we can say that it is only project economics, because the principles, basic principles of economic evaluation of projects that we are going to learn apply equally well to other projects also. Okay? And the topics in this are first the introduction, then the process selection, the site survey, project cost estimation, time value of money, the concepts of interest, depreciation, project finance, and finally the profitability analysis. So, we have a syllabus of 8 modules spanning 46 lectures. I am going to refer to 5 books while teaching this particular course, okay? And I am giving here with the names of these books along with the authors. The first book that I am going to use or refer to is the Conceptual Design of Chemical Processes. This is very widely used book in many universities. Conceptual Design of Chemical Processes by J.M. Douglas, and the publisher of this book is McGraw-Hill International. Then the second book which I am going to refer to is the standard text of Peters and Timmerhouse. This is already in the 5th edition, very widely, very popular text among undergraduate students as well as practicing engineers. M.S. Peters, K.D. Timmerhouse, and R.E. West. Plant Design and Economics for Chemical Engineers. This is again published by McGraw-Hill. The third book that I am going to refer to is by Dr. V.V. Mahajani and Dr. S.M. Mokashi. The title of this book is Chemical Project Economics, and it is published by Macmillan India. Then the fourth book I am going to refer to is also quite popular text among undergraduates, the book of Robin Smith, Chemical Process Design and Integration. This is published by John Wiley. John Wiley and Sons. And finally, the fifth book is that of R.K. Sinnott, Chemical Engineering Design. This is volume 6 of Richardson Coulson Chemical Engineering series. And the publisher of this is Butterworth Heinemann. Which is a part of Elsevier. Okay. So, these 5 books I shall be mostly referring to while teaching various modules of this course. So, I hope you will enjoy this course, because as I said in the beginning, this is a sort of a pinnacle of chemical engineering curriculum where you will learn applications of various principles that you have used, that you have learned in all other NPTEL courses for designing a chemical process, then converting that process into a project, and finally evaluating the economics of this project. Thank you.